Okay, this is the third video of the series that I've been doing. Didn't intend it to be a series, but it's kind of turning out that way. The first one was Michio Kaku sucks ass, the second was Michio Kaku still sucks ass, and this one is entitled Michio Kaku sucks more ass than a Mexican whore. It's a double entendre because the word ass also means donkey. Just for kicks sometime, kids. Go to Google Images, type in Mexican whore, donkey. You'll see things that you'll never be able to erase from the hard drive of your mind. Trust me. Okay, the thing about this is, first let me address some of the comments I've been getting. You know, I know I'm a big guy. You know, I knew that before any of you made these insults about me being fat. Over a year ago I was up to 310 pounds, and that down to, around, 260, 257, around that range. So, hey, how much weight have you guys lost? It's kind of a silly thing. If you want to go back to our elementary school playground and call each other names like fatso or whatever, make fun of each other, well, hey, that's the mentality that you're dealing with when the argument comes to that level. A couple other things. No, I am not at all insinuating that I have an incredibly high IQ or that I'm as smart as Michio. I mean, yeah, he would outclass me in an IQ contest, hands down. But the point that I'm making is, it's not about who's smarter. It's about where is somebody putting their energy. Are they being a shill? Are they selling out to the corporates? Are they selling out to the corporations who are trying to create slaves of all of us? And yes, I think he is. And I'll explain that more in depth later. And also, I'm really impressed that some of you have made intelligent comments. We've had intelligent exchanges. And, there's actually one or two I think I may be winning over, who might have initially thought I was just some asshole rambling, who now see, maybe I'm actually expressing a valid point of view. Agree or disagree. Now, let's clarify and put a finer point on what I was initially saying. When you dumb down a talk to the point that the science loses its coherency, when it's no longer science, when it becomes fantasy, then you're no longer talking science. It's like telling a child, there's this land of cotton candy and lollipops, where there are lollipop trees and gumdrops fall from the sky. How is that any different than telling people on Fox News, well, there's this planet, and there could be water there, and there could be fish? No, I understand people are saying that he's just trying to get people excited about science, but that's not science, number one. And number two, if that's what you're saying, that he's doing it, then you have to agree with me. He's selling out. He's trying to get money for the corporate research that is going to work to make slaves of all of us. He's a shill. Now, let me go into a little more detail about why this is. And secondly, but even before I do that, I want to talk about Bill Nye. I don't always agree with Bill Nye, but when he talks, what he does is he stays true to the science more often than not, and he tries to bring the level of conversation up. He will talk to people on Fox News or wherever and try to, even though he simplifies the language, he stays true to the science and what scientific method is and how science works. And so I have a lot more respect for that than I do with someone who's just going to lie to people and insinuate that there are fish on a planet and we don't even know if there's water there. Now, to me, what would be more fascinating is if somebody comes out and say, we don't know if there's water there or not. There could be methane, oceans of methane. There could be oceans of ammonia. We don't really know. But think of how special and unique it would be if we discovered life that adapted to an ocean of ammonia. And the high gravity, how might that change the structure and the geometry of how creatures evolve? If you understand how evolution evolved on this planet, Earth, there were all kinds of fascinating body models in the shell fossil record. But there were only 3 primary models that survived. Insects, arthropods, and worms. And that is what generated all of our physiologies. So using that as a model, and then saying, well, what if you had higher gravity? What if you had methane or ammonia or some other predominant substance that had to be adapted to? It's fascinating speculation that would show a more realistic example of just how alien other worlds are. And then that you can pontificate as to what is even possible. I mean, it's a cliche, it's life but not as we know it. So hopefully I've put a finer point on that. It's always to me more intriguing to discuss the truth, because the truth is stranger than fiction. And I think anybody who's educated on science knows that, and anybody who's educated on science, speaking to those who are not educated on science, if you truly have the gift of communication, can communicate that. And it is much more fascinating. But if you want to dumb it down and create a fantasy world, like I say, what you're trying, as a lot of people have insinuated to me in the comments, he's generating money for the corporations. Yeah, that's exactly what he's doing. And that's why I say he's a shill and a suck out, or a sellout and a suck ass. So when you tell me, when your argument is, hey, he's just generating money for the corporations, then you are supporting my point. He is a suck ass. And these corporations are going to be the end of all of us if something isn't done. They've eliminated the middle class in America, and let me explain to you now how Michio Kaku literally supports this. He was giving a talk, the video I remember, the title of it was something like, are we ready for the technological prosperity, or that was the theme of the talk. And of course it was just more shilling for the corporate mentality. But he hit upon the idea of H-1 visas, and he insinuated that America could not have built the internet we did without the H-1 visa and foreigners coming to our country and telling us how to build an internet. I mean, he didn't say it that way, but that's pretty much what he insinuated. Well, if you check the facts, and I'm sorry to bother you with the facts, and those of you in college who study under this man might want to approach him about it. What he, one of the things that he talks about in this is, well, if you understand the history, you'll realize that during the internet boom, we actually created too many IT people in America. There are articles about this. There were more IT people than we had jobs for. The H-1 visa was for people at the PhD level and beyond. It was not so that a company could save money and hire an engineer in India for $6,000 instead of paying an American $60,000 for the same year's work. But that's how it was used. So this shows you that when Michio Kaku, talks about how great these H-1 visas were and how America needed them, no, we didn't. We had plenty of qualified people in our own country who were, it was a cost-cutting measure. And the fact that Michio Kaku supports that kind of thing, if you're going to college right now and you think he's a great guy for this, his mentality, not him personally, but his mentality, people who think like this, are a big part of the reason you're going to spend all your money on an education and not be able to pay the banks back, because there won't be a job for you, because we've eliminated the middle class by outsourcing so much work. So when I say Michio Kaku sucks more ass than a Mexican whore, this is why. It's not just an arbitrary insult, it's that he's a sellout to the corporations. And if you study what he's done and what he said, particularly about H-1 visas, then you'll know this. Now, I want to make it clear. I'm sure Michio Kaku is a wonderful person. I'm sure he loves his parents, and I'm sure he's probably a great guy to sit down and have a beer with. I've seen, and I've also seen him teach. I've seen him in videos where he didn't talk down, where he spoke intelligently, so I know he's capable of doing so. So when I see him shilling to, Fox News and these other programs, really dumbing down the science and leading people to think that we're going to have time machines and other crazy stuff. As people have noted, this is to grow science. It's to grow science for the corporations. It's to grow science. It's to mislead people in the news media. It's to give people hope when actually it's this corporate element that he's selling out to that is going to be the end of all of us if we don't do something. And it's the reason why your degree is not going to mean anything when it comes to getting a job. You only have to look as far as the latest news reports to know what I'm talking about there. So let's see, I covered him. I covered the idea about, I put a finer point on this whole planetary exploration thing. Oh, I know what else I wanted to cover. I talked about him being a shill in the H-1 visa, but this idea too that's been discussed as far as invaders from space, which, you know, that's a xenophobic idea that he's propagated. And and granted, he's told many sides of this, and you know, this idea of these different levels of technological societies. It's an interesting way for us to gauge it, and people have complained about me making a science fiction or a Dungeons and Dragons reference. Well, he literally uses science fiction and compares Star Wars to Star Trek when he talks about these level of technology. So if you're going to criticize me for it, you may as well criticize him as well. But I think that if you understand the singularity and understand how, and even Michio has talked about this, how technology compounds upon itself, and it's a snowball effect, that it creates a singularity, a point by which we won't know what the technology is. You can't say that the singularity exists and then say, well, I've got a model for how each of these technologies are going to exist as far as containing a planet, containing a star, etc. We don't know what technology will bring and how it advances and in what order. There's a very sound argument that says as we grow in technology we become more civil. And if you look at the Earth's history, and there's a great TED talk on this, I forget the guy's name who gave it, but he shows that per capita there's less violence on the planet today than there has ever been. So there is this idea that, you know, if the psychology of the aliens are anything like we are, they will probably be more civil. But let's just forget that, because that's a stretch. It assumes that they may think the way we do. I think a better way to approach this is if you understand the concrescent nature of how technology comes faster every day. We learn more in the last 50 years than we learned in the last 500 years, and we'll learn more in the next 10 than we did in the last 50. Eventually we'll get to a point to where we'll learn more in 1 year than we did in the last 2, then more in the 6 months than the last year. Eventually we'll get to a point where we double our knowledge every day. Now, it should be pretty obvious, since that is the way technological advancement has been proven to work. Another good person, Ray Kurzweil, is really good at explaining this. If you understand that, then the idea that beings from another planet are going to need our resources, that they're going to invade our planet because, you know, one person had such a crazy idea, well, they might be able to make fuel out of our blood. I don't know how, how crazy is that? I mean, these fantasy stories people come up with to make an argument. But if you understand the concrescent nature of technology, then you would understand that by the time any technology exists to travel from one star system to another, that nanotechnology and other manufacturing technologies will exist to basically create anything that a civilization would want, number one. Number two, if they did need raw material, this level of technology would be able to get it from asteroids, planets without beings living on them. There are in the Oort clouds, there are a lot of these big hunks of practically anything you would want, as far as materials are concerned. Not to mention the fact that they would be able to create heat hotter than the sun, which would be able to create an alchemy, a literal scientific alchemy, that they could create any substance they want. So this idea that an alien race that could travel to our planet would have need of our resources, if you understand the science and how technology works, it's a really juvenile idea. But why would Michio, who clearly is intelligent enough to understand these things and clearly grasp the idea of a singularity, then why would he promote the idea that, why would he create this xenophobic mentality? Once again, that's what corporations do. They make people fearful, and then this way we can create weapons, we can create plans, we can say your needs, you middle class and lower class people, your needs aren't as important as what we need to fight the terrorists or to fight the aliens or whatever. It's really the predecessor of the next lie that we're given to control us. So think for yourself, people. I'm not saying I'm smarter than he is, and I'm not saying I'm smarter than you are. I'm saying take what I say, give it consideration, look at how his philosophies benefit the corporations, and realize he's part of the culture, and culture is not your friend. He's part of the scientific, the corporate branch of scientific belief that exists to control you. And that's why he shills. That's why he goes on Fox News, gives fantasy stories about fish on other planets, and that's why he also spreads the xenophobia about alien invasion. He's just setting up the next lie so that the corporations can make us all poor and control our lives. And one final note, there's been comments about my hat. Some like it, some don't. Hey, everyone's entitled to their opinion. It's not a hipster thing. I don't consider myself a hipster. I don't buy into any cultural idea. I just found the hat at a dollar store and I liked it. And for those of you who think it looks bad, well, here's the other option. Okay? So, you decide. I, quite frankly, like the hat better. So, hey, you know what? Hopefully I clarified some things. I've probably made more enemies, but hopefully some of you might have turned around and know that I'm not a captain, captain know-nothing wannabe, but I might actually have some views worth considering. All right? Thanks for sticking with me so long. Peace.